The desert stretched endlessly. A golden sea of sand waves rippled under the hot sun, with no sign of life for hundreds of miles. The wind blew hard, carrying dust that stung the eyes, but Jace had learned long ago not to let discomfort slow him down. He wiped his brow with a grimy sleeve, squinting at the horizon. Something unusual had appeared on his scanners, something that made his heart beat faster. Jace was not your typical explorer. He wasn't part of the Galactic Council's crews, nor did he have a fleet of advanced ships at his disposal. He was a mechanic, simple and practical, but the galaxy had a funny way of rewarding those who were clever with their hands. And today, his curiosity had brought him to the middle of nowhere, chasing a blip on his old sensors that no one else seemed to care about. As he trudged over the dunes, the blip grew stronger. The readings were chaotic, as if the object was alive in some way. Sweat dripped down his forehead and into his eyes, but he didn't stop. He had faced scorching heat, malfunctioning equipment, and countless dead ends before, yet he had never backed down. This time, something felt different. The sand beneath him shifted strangely, almost as if the desert itself was warning him to stay away. Then, he saw it. Half buried in the sand there lay a ship, but it was unlike any ship Jace had ever seen. Its edges were smooth and curved, as though it had grown naturally rather than being built. Strange markings, glowing faintly, traced patterns along the hull. The surface shimmered in the sunlight, reflecting colors that didn't exist in the human spectrum. It was enormous, bigger than a cruiser, and seemed impossibly ancient. The ship was tilted slightly to one side, as if it had crashed with tremendous force. Jace's pulse quickened. Mechanics like him were trained to examine, repair, and understand machines. But this was beyond anything he had ever worked on. No manual could teach him what to do here. Yet there was no fear, only the thrill of discovery, the hunger to touch the unknown and make sense of it. He knelt beside the hull and ran his hand across its surface. The metal was warm, not cold like a normal ship, and it pulsed softly under his fingers. He pressed his palm harder and a faint hum resonated through the air. His stomach tightened. Something inside the vessel was alive, or at least it reacted to him. Pulling out his scanner, Jace began running diagnostic sweeps. The device beeped erratically, unable to identify the material of the hull. "Great," he muttered under his breath. "Not human, not council tech, definitely not anything from known space." But Jace didn't panic, he never did. Instead, he did what he did best, he improvised. Using a portable cutter and his knowledge of machinery, he began attempting to open a hatch. The ship's surface resisted his tools, shining and rippling as if the metal itself was aware of his attempts. Frustrated but determined, Jace improvised again, connecting his ship's energy core to the cutter to boost its power. Sparks flew, and the metal hummed louder. Hours passed. The sun began to sink, painting the desert in shades of red and gold. Sweat poured down Jace's face, and his arms ached from the effort. He had tried every tool, every method, every trick he knew, and still the hatch didn't budge. But he didn't give up. Mechanic or not, humans were survivors. We improvise, we adapt. We keep going when others would have quit. That thought pushed him forward. Then, just as the last light of the sun disappeared, something incredible happened. The metal of the hatch rippled like water and then slowly began to shift, sliding open without a sound. Jace stumbled back, his jaw dropping. The opening revealed a dark interior, far larger than the hatch suggested. Faint lights pulsed from inside, illuminating corridors that twisted and curved in ways human architecture could never replicate. He felt a shiver run down his spine. This ship, it was alive in some sense. Its design was too perfect, too fluid, and it was waiting for him, or perhaps for anyone clever enough to find it. Jace took a deep breath, steadying himself. He had a choice. Turn back and report the discovery, or step inside and face the unknown. Curiosity won. One step and then another. The desert wind faded behind him as he entered the vessel. The inside was quiet but not empty. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, shifting as if alive. The air smelled faintly metallic, but it wasn't unpleasant. He ran his hands along the walls, feeling vibrations under his fingertips. Some corridors seemed to stretch longer than physically possible. The ship wasn't just a machine, it was a puzzle, a labyrinth of engineering far beyond human capability. Jace's scanner beeped again, this time registering faint energy signatures deep within the ship. He followed the readings, his footsteps echoing in the silent corridors. After a short walk, he reached a large chamber. At its center floated a glowing orb, spinning slowly in midair. Lines of light extended from it, forming patterns and diagrams that seemed to represent star systems, galaxies, and unknown planets. He couldn't understand most of it, but one thing was clear. This ship held knowledge the galaxy had lost, or maybe knowledge the galaxy had never known. Jace's mind raced. The Council would want this, the scientists would want this, the explorers would fight to get it. But none of that mattered yet. This was his discovery, and he had earned it with sweat, determination, and pure human ingenuity. As he stepped closer, the orb pulsed brighter. A low hum filled the room, vibrating through his chest. His eyes widened when the hum formed a pattern almost like a voice speaking directly to his mind. It wasn't words, at least not human words, but he could feel a message forming. "Human, you are different." Jace staggered back. He wasn't sure if he had imagined it, but the feeling was undeniable. The ship was alive, aware, and it had recognized him. His heart pounded, not with fear but with excitement. Humans had always been underestimated by the galaxy. Fleets, advanced civilizations, and artificial intelligences had assumed that raw technology meant superiority. Yet here he was, a single mechanic, able to interact with a ship that had been lost for millennia. The hum faded, but the glow remained, inviting him further. Jace took a deep breath, one step at a time, one corridor at a time. Whatever was inside, he would uncover it. Humans survived because they adapted, and he had adapted to the unknown. As he moved deeper into the ship, he thought of the desert behind him, the endless sand, the blinding sun, and the quiet galaxy that had ignored this blip. None of that mattered now. What mattered was discovery, understanding, and survival. Humanity had faced worse, and humanity had always risen above. The orb pulsed again, casting light on a hallway that stretched farther than he could see. Shadows moved, or maybe shapes in the metal itself shifted. Every instinct told him to proceed carefully, but curiosity was stronger than caution. And Jace, a simple human mechanic, stepped forward into the unknown, unaware that the galaxy itself was about to change because of what he would find next. The desert wind outside howled through the dunes, but inside the ship's quiet hum was louder, a sound that spoke of power, knowledge, and secrets waiting for a human mind to unlock. For the first time, Jace felt the thrill of being more than a mechanic. He was a pioneer, a discoverer, a human who had finally stepped into a galaxy that underestimated him, and he was ready to prove just how wrong they all were. The deeper Jace moved into the ship, the more he realized it was not like any human or known alien technology. The walls curved and twisted in impossible angles, and the corridors seemed to shift subtly when he blinked, as though the ship itself was alive and adjusting to him. He ran his hands along the glowing surfaces, feeling the faint vibrations pulsing beneath the metal. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat. The orb he had seen in the first chamber continued to glow softly in the distance, casting long shadows on the walls. Its light reflected in Jace's wide eyes, and he felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Nothing in his life had prepared him for this. He had fixed engines, repaired broken ships, and even improvised whole circuits in emergency situations, but nothing had ever whispered to him like this. He stopped in front of a doorway shaped like a crescent. A low hum resonated from beyond it, almost like it was calling him. Hesitating for only a moment, he stepped through and found himself in a vast chamber that seemed much larger than the ship itself. The walls glowed with strange energy lines that traced patterns like constellations. In the center of the room floated a structure unlike anything he could describe, a sphere of transparent energy, constantly shifting and forming shapes, as if it were alive. As Jace approached, he realized it wasn't just a structure, it was intelligent. The sphere pulsed and extended tendrils of light toward him, not threatening but curious. Then, in a way he could not explain, he understood the message forming in his mind. "Human, you are different." Jace staggered, blinking. He had felt it before, faintly, but now it was clear. This ship, this being, was aware of him. It wasn't speaking with words, it was communicating thoughts, emotions, understanding. And somehow it was fascinated by him. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. Humans had always been underestimated. Across galaxies, civilizations had assumed that intelligence could be measured by technology, not creativity. They had assumed that advanced machines and fleets made them superior. But the ship seemed to recognize something in him, a spark of ingenuity that no artificial intelligence or alien could predict. "Show me," the ship seemed to say. Jace hesitated, then reached out. He pressed his hand toward one of the energy tendrils. Instantly, the ship reacted. Patterns of light danced across the walls, forming maps of distant galaxies, planets, and star systems unknown to the galactic registry. Each star pulsed with information, resources, civilizations, histories. His mind raced. Some of these systems had never been discovered. Some civilizations might be extinct. Some might be hiding secrets the galaxy had forgotten. Jace's fingers brushed over one of the floating diagrams, and a doorway appeared on the far side of the chamber. He stepped through it cautiously. The hallway beyond was lined with strange panels, each glowing softly. He touched one, and instantly a holographic display appeared, showing images of alien ships, weapons, and engines, most of which were centuries ahead of human technology. Yet, as advanced as these things were, Jace did not feel fear. He felt curiosity and a strange confidence. He had spent his life fixing things, understanding systems, and improvising solutions when nothing else worked. He was human, and humans adapted. Humans learned. Humans improvised. The sphere pulsed again, as if acknowledging his understanding. Then it projected an image of an alien race, humanoids, but unlike any Jace had seen. Their eyes glowed faintly, their limbs elongated, and their ships resembled organic creatures more than machines. The image showed the race in conflict with another, unnamed force, and then the vessel itself. The ship had been part of a mission, a protector of knowledge, and it had been abandoned during a great battle centuries ago. Jace took a step back. His heart raced. He was standing inside a relic of a civilization older than most records, holding secrets that could change the galaxy. And the ship had recognized him, had chosen him. He moved further into the chamber and found a console that seemed interactive. Unlike human technology, it didn't respond to buttons or switches. It responded to thought, intention, and curiosity. Jace stared at it for a moment, unsure how to proceed. Then, almost instinctively, he placed his hands on the console and thought, "I want to understand." The response was immediate. Streams of data flowed into his mind, images, schematics, maps, calculations. It was overwhelming, almost too much to process, but Jace's brain adjusted. He was used to thinking quickly, solving problems under pressure. Humans were adaptable, and his mind worked in ways even artificial intelligence struggled to match. As he absorbed the information, he realized the ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a library, a repository of knowledge, technology, and strategy. It contained the secrets of a civilization that had mastered stellar energy, capable of moving planets and harnessing the power of stars. And now, it was sharing that knowledge with him. Hours passed. The sun set long ago outside, and the desert became a cold, dark expanse. But inside the ship, time felt different. Jace's mind raced through possibilities. The Galactic Council would want this ship. Scientists would fight to study it. Militaries would kill for the knowledge it contained. Yet Jace felt no fear, only excitement. Humans had always faced danger, always found solutions, and always adapted. This was no different. Suddenly, the ship shifted. The sphere pulsed and a new message formed in his mind. Threat approaching. Rogue faction detected, must act. Jace froze. He understood immediately. The galaxy wasn't safe. And this ship, this treasure trove of knowledge, could be the key to survival. Humans were not just observers, they could be protectors. He ran back to the main chamber, examining the energy systems and propulsion controls. The ship responded to his touch, activating energy fields, shields, and propulsion sequences. Even without fully understanding the technology, Jace could sense the possibilities. Humans survived because they improvised, because they solved problems that seemed impossible, and because they were willing to take risks others wouldn't. For the first time, Jace realized the galaxy underestimated humans at their own peril. This ship had recognized him because he was clever, determined, and adaptable. One human mind had the potential to unlock secrets that entire civilizations had forgotten or dismissed. A soft vibration ran through the floor. The ship was alive, aware of external danger and waiting for him to act. Jace's pulse quickened. He thought of the rogue faction approaching the galaxy, unknown, powerful, and dangerous. But he also thought of humanity. Humans never gave up. Humans never surrendered. Humans adapted, improvised, and overcame. Jace's hands flew over the energy panels, activating sequences, testing responses, and improvising solutions. The ship responded instantly, as though it were learning from him as much as he was learning from it. They were a team, human ingenuity paired with ancient alien intelligence. Hours turned into night, and yet Jace continued, driven by curiosity, adrenaline, and determination. He found a small chamber within the ship that contained an interface, a crystalline core pulsing with energy. As he touched it, the ship revealed a defensive system, advanced beyond any human weapon, yet controllable through his creativity and intuition. He experimented, testing the energy fields, shields, and weapon simulations. Each adjustment he made was precise, clever, and effective. The ship responded as if impressed, pulsing brighter and aligning its systems to his commands. And then he heard it, the first clear thought from the ship directed entirely at him. Human, prepare. You are ready to defend, you are ready to lead. Jace's heart swelled with pride. This was not just discovery, it was destiny. The ship had chosen him because humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and brilliant. Other civilizations relied on power, fleets, and rigid strategies. Humans relied on courage, creativity, and ingenuity. The rogue faction would soon arrive. The galaxy might panic. Fleets might scramble. But a single human mechanic, armed with knowledge and tools beyond imagination, was ready to face the unknown. Jace leaned back, taking a deep breath. The ship hummed around him, alive and aware, waiting for his next command. And in that moment, he realized something profound. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because they were limitless. He smiled. Humanity had always faced impossible odds and always won. The desert outside was silent and dark, but inside the ship, a new force had awakened. A force born from ingenuity, courage, and a simple mechanic who refused to give up. Jace's adventure had only just begun. The ship was alive. That was the first thing Jace realized as he moved through its glowing corridors. It responded to him, anticipating his thoughts, guiding his hands, and illuminating paths he had never imagined. Every panel, every energy line, every flicker of light seemed to recognize him as more than just a mechanic. He was a human, and humans had a gift the galaxy often underestimated: ingenuity. But the thrill of discovery was quickly replaced by urgency. The ship's energy sphere pulsed faster, sending vibrations through the floor, and a holographic alert flashed in front of Jace. He barely had time to register it before the meaning hit him. Rogue alien vessels were approaching the planet. Scanners indicated a fleet, small but heavily armed, moving faster than anything Jace had ever seen. He froze for a second, feeling the weight of the situation. If the fleet reached the planet, the desert, the vessel, and all its secrets could be lost. But fear did not take root for long. Humans adapted, and Jace had a mind built for improvisation. He ran back to the main chamber, where the ship's control panels glowed like constellations. The alien systems were advanced, almost beyond comprehension, but Jace had learned a simple truth. Systems respond to thought, not just knowledge. He had learned the ship's rhythm, the way its energy flowed, the way it responded to curiosity and creativity. Humans thrived in chaos, and this was chaos in its purest form. With quick hands, he tapped panels, activated energy conduits, and tested the ship's capabilities. The ship responded instantly. Shields flared along the hull, glowing barriers forming around its surface. Turret systems rotated and powered up, though Jace did not fully understand the mechanics. He knew enough. Humans did not need full knowledge. They adapted, improvised, and mastered challenges as they came. Outside, the scanners confirmed the fleet's approach. Small vessels zipped through space, their shapes angular and menacing. They were not a full battle fleet, but they were enough to overwhelm most defenders. Most defenders, except humans. Jace activated the ship's sensors, mapping the desert and surrounding space. He realized the ship could project energy fields far beyond its hull, create defensive barriers, and even manipulate the terrain around it. All he needed was creativity, and that humans had in abundance. He focused, thinking not in terms of weapons, but in terms of strategy. Humans didn't just fight, they adapted. They observed, they improvised, and they used intelligence where others relied on brute force. He envisioned a trap, a clever use of the desert itself, combined with the ship's alien technology. The ship hummed in acknowledgement, almost as if it understood his plan. Jace smiled. Together, they would turn the impossible into the possible. The first alien ships entered the desert atmosphere, small scouts scanning the sands. They were fast, efficient, and armed with weapons far beyond human standards, or so they thought. The desert appeared empty, but Jace had prepared. He triggered the ship's defensive systems, causing sand and energy fields to rise like invisible walls. The scouts collided with the invisible barriers, their shields overloading and forcing them to retreat. From orbit, more vessels appeared. The rogue fleet had assumed the planet was undefended, that no single human could pose a threat. They had never encountered a human like Jace. He thought quickly, manipulating the ship systems. Energy fields expanded, forming patterns that disoriented the fleet's sensors. Turrets activated, but instead of firing directly, they created illusions of multiple ships, an entire fleet of reflections shimmering across the desert. The alien vessels hesitated, unsure which targets were real. Humans relied on unpredictability, and Jace's tactics embodied that truth. One of the larger enemy vessels attempted to bypass the illusions and attack directly. Jace anticipated it, rerouting energy to project a massive beam of concentrated light that struck the ship's surface, pushing it back without destroying it. The alien crew's astonishment was palpable. No human had ever manipulated energy like this. They assumed brute force worked on everything. Humans worked differently, they thought. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange inside the vessel, warped by its alien systems. Jace moved with precision, controlling multiple functions at once, adapting to every move of the rogue fleet. The ship responded as if it were learning from him, improving its strategies and predicting enemy maneuvers. Humans thrived in challenges, and here was proof. One human mind directing an ancient alien vessel could outthink an entire fleet. The alien ships regrouped for a final strike. They were fast, ruthless, and heavily armed, but Jace had seen enough. He focused on the desert itself, activating energy conduits that shifted the sand, creating walls, trenches, and false pathways. The fleet's sensors were thrown into chaos. They fired blindly, their weapons striking empty sand, and one by one, the ships began to retreat. Jace did not stop. He pushed the vessel's systems further, activating an ancient communication network. A beacon shot into space, sending a warning to nearby human colonies. Rogue fleet approaching, defenses active, human ingenuity at work. Across the galaxy, humans would now know they were underestimated, and that underestimation would be their advantage. As the rogue fleet retreated beyond detection, Jace leaned against a glowing console, his chest heaving. Sweat poured down his face, not from fear but from the exhilaration of success. Humans had survived impossible odds countless times, and this was no different. One mechanic, armed with nothing but skill, creativity, and courage, had turned the tide of a galactic threat. The ship pulsed around him, alive, responsive, and now respectful. The AI, or whatever intelligence remained in the vessel, seemed to acknowledge him as more than just a human. He had proven himself worthy, clever, and adaptable. And yet, Jace knew this was only the beginning. The rogue faction would return. Others would come. But humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon no machine or alien fleet could fully counter. He explored more of the ship, finding maps, energy reserves, and defensive strategies. Every discovery reminded him of humanity's unique strength, the ability to adapt and improvise in ways no one expected. He smiled as he moved through the chambers. Humans had always survived. They had faced challenges far greater than this desert or the alien fleet, and they had always prevailed. The ship's sphere pulsed again, and a clear message formed in his mind. You are ready, human. The galaxy underestimates you. Use this knowledge and humanity will endure. Jace nodded. He understood now. He was not just a mechanic. He was a pioneer, a defender, and a force the galaxy could not ignore. One human, armed with creativity, courage, and the right tools, could change the course of history. Outside, the desert lay quiet once more. The rogue fleet had retreated, but the galaxy would soon learn that humans were far from defenseless. Inside the ship, systems hummed in harmony with Jace's commands, ready for whatever came next. Humans had survived because they adapted. They had thrived because they improvised. And now, a single human had proven that even against a technologically superior force, ingenuity and courage could turn the tide. Jace's hands rested on the glowing console. His mind raced with possibilities. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a weapon, a library, a fortress, and a teacher. And he was ready to master it all. The desert wind whispered outside, but inside the ship, humanity's true strength shone brightly. Intelligence, determination, and the unyielding will to survive. For the first time, Jace realized the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. And humanity was just beginning. The desert was quiet now, the wind whispering through the dunes as the sun rose over the horizon. From above, the planet looked empty, lifeless. But inside the half-buried alien vessel, a quiet revolution had begun. Jace stood in the main chamber, surrounded by glowing consoles, holographic maps, and the pulsating energy of the ship. He had learned its systems, understood its intelligence, and now commanded its power. He took a deep breath, reflecting on the events of the past days. What had started as a simple discovery had grown into something unimaginable. One human mechanic, underestimated and alone, had faced impossible odds and survived. He had outsmarted a rogue alien fleet and gained the trust of an ancient, intelligent vessel. And now, humanity's future in the galaxy was changing because of him. The ship hummed around him, its energy flowing like water through its corridors. The sphere of light floated in the center of the chamber, pulsing softly, as if acknowledging Jace's thoughts. He approached it cautiously, feeling a connection he could not explain. The ship was alive, aware, and it recognized him not just as a mechanic, but as a human capable of thinking, creating, and adapting in ways even advanced civilizations could not predict. Jace ran his hands over the glowing panels, examining the star charts and maps. Entire systems unknown to the Galactic Council appeared before him, some with thriving civilizations, others with remnants of ancient races long gone. The ship was a treasure trove of knowledge, and he realized the true power it offered: understanding. Knowledge was the greatest weapon in the galaxy, and humans had just received it. He paused at a holographic display showing the rogue faction's retreat. They had underestimated humanity, assuming one mechanic, or one human, could not pose a threat. They were wrong. Humans thrived on unpredictability, improvisation, and courage. No machine or alien could fully anticipate human creativity, and Jace had proven it. The vessel's AI pulsed, sending waves of thought directly into his mind. Human, you have proven yourself. The galaxy underestimates your kind. Knowledge is now yours to wield, protect, create, adapt. Jace nodded. He understood the message. This ship was not just a tool of defense, it was a beacon of potential. He could guide humanity toward discovery, exploration, and protection. The galaxy had assumed humans were fragile, primitive, and predictable. They were wrong. Humans were limitless. He began to plan. First, he would secure the ship. Its energy fields extended far beyond the hull, capable of defending the planet from threats. He ran simulations, testing defense strategies and improvising maneuvers that would make a fleet think twice before attacking. The ship responded instantly, adjusting its energy flows, shields, and weapon systems to match his ideas. Hours turned into days. Jace explored every chamber, learning to interface with the alien technology. Some systems were defensive, some offensive, and some completely unknown. But humans had always thrived in uncertainty. Every challenge the ship presented, Jace overcame with intuition, improvisation, and determination. The ship was alive, but he was learning to think with it, to be a single, cohesive force. As he worked, he realized something else. The galaxy would change because of this ship and because of humans. He could send messages, share discoveries, and guide exploration in ways that no one had ever imagined. The Galactic Council, the explorers, the scientists, they would all be forced to recognize humans not as primitives, but as pioneers. A soft hum pulsed through the ship, drawing his attention to a hidden chamber he had not explored. Inside, he found an archive of holographic records, histories of civilizations, star maps, and advanced engineering schematics. Some of these civilizations had been destroyed or forgotten. Some had left technology that could alter entire planets. The responsibility weighed heavily on him. Knowledge without wisdom was dangerous, but humans had always learned from experience. They adapted, improved, and survived. And Jace, one human mechanic, would carry that legacy forward. He activated a projection of the galaxy, marking safe zones, unexplored systems, and potential threats. He realized that humans had an opportunity not just to survive, but to lead. One species, underestimated and overlooked, could shape the future of entire star systems, and the ship, alive and aware, would be humanity's partner in this journey. Days passed. Scouts from human colonies arrived, drawn by the ship's beacon. Jace welcomed them cautiously, demonstrating the vessel's capabilities and teaching them how to interact with its systems. They watched in awe as a single human guided the ship's energy, manipulating defenses, shields, and communications. They realized that humans were clever, adaptable, and resourceful, traits no fleet, army, or alien technology could fully match. The rogue faction remained a distant threat, but Jace had prepared. He had created strategies, contingencies, and defenses that leveraged human unpredictability. The galaxy had assumed that intelligence was measured by technology, but humans proved it was measured by creativity, courage, and determination. One evening, Jace stood on a balcony overlooking the desert. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sands in gold and red. He thought of humanity, scattered across colonies and planets, often dismissed by other civilizations as primitive. But now he understood the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were limitless. The ship pulsed beside him, sending a wave of understanding. Human, your kind is capable of shaping the future. The galaxy underestimates you at its own risk. Jace smiled. He had always believed in humanity, in its resilience and creativity. Now he had proof. One human, armed with determination and ingenuity, had changed the course of the galaxy. And humanity would rise, not through domination, but through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. He looked at the stars. Unknown systems, hidden civilizations, and ancient secrets stretched before him. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of mysteries, but humans had never backed down from a challenge. They had survived plagues, wars, and impossible odds. Now they faced a universe that assumed they were small and fragile. Jace knew better. The vessel hummed, alive and responsive, waiting for his commands. It was more than a ship, it was a partner, a teacher, and a guardian. And together, they would guide humanity into the stars, proving to every civilization that humans were clever, resourceful, and unstoppable when they worked with courage and creativity. He activated a communication array, sending messages to human colonies across nearby systems. He shared knowledge, strategies, and warnings. Humans would learn, adapt, and prepare for the future. The rogue faction, or any other threat, would no longer underestimate them. One mechanic, one human mind, had started a ripple that would spread across the galaxy. Night fell over the desert. The dunes glimmered under the light of distant stars. Inside the ship, glowing panels cast soft shadows on Jace's face. He felt a deep sense of purpose, a responsibility to guide humanity and protect the knowledge he had discovered. The galaxy had underestimated humans, but that mistake would not last. In that quiet moment, Jace realized the true legacy of his discovery. Humans were not defined by technology, fleets, or weapons. Humans were defined by creativity, courage, and ingenuity. And now the galaxy would know it. The ship hummed in agreement, its energy flowing through the corridors, pulsing with potential. Jace stepped forward, ready to explore new systems, unlock ancient secrets, and guide humanity into the stars. One mechanic, one human mind, had begun a story that would echo across galaxies for generations, and humanity's rise had only just begun. The desert outside remained silent, but inside, a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen pulsed with life. Humans had always survived, always adapted, and always risen. Now, with knowledge, courage, and ingenuity, they would shape the future. Jace looked up at the glowing sphere and whispered, "Let's show them what humans can do." The vessel pulsed in response, a silent promise that together they were unstoppable. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.